Welcome back to the Not Quite Pod. Today we've got Monique with us. Monique, do you just want to quickly introduce yourself and let everyone know a bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Monique Dior Jarrett. I'm a model, a advocate. I'm one of 5 directors of an arts-based company for people with disabilities, and I'm also a wheelchair and disabled dancer.
This is going to be an awesome episode. I've got so many questions already. Tell us, I always ask my guests at the beginning of the episode, tell us, like, for those who don't know you and don't know anything about you, what's sort of your story this far? So, like, what sort of got you to the point of where you are today? What was growing up like for you? Sort of the general intro into you.
I'll try and make it as small as possible. So I have a condition called, the technical term, I think it's Italian, I'm not sure, not great with languages, but it's osteogenesis imperfecta type 3, which is also known as brittle bones disease, but it is not a disease. Don't ask me why they call it that, which then means I am of small stature, so I am 3'5" on a good day, and I'm a full-time wheelchair user, and I have a very big electric wheelchair. Growing up, apparently my mum and family always say that I was quite an ambitious child, never took no for an answer, really, that kind of situation. Always
That's the northerner coming out in you there.
I think that is an opener, right? Always loved the arts, loved dancing, always climbing, doing everything I'm not supposed to do for my disability, more or less. I've done everything to football, trampolining, skiing, the lot. And I do give my specialists and everyone who has any acknowledgement about my disability a heart attack. So, hey-ho. I guess I was the same in high school, a bit of a little rebel, I guess. But also, I think I realised only then, near the end of high school, that even though I want to do everything, not everything is possible. So I sort of start coming to terms with that, especially when I had said I want to work within the arts because I really loved it. And to be honest, it was the only thing I was good at. I got good grades in the arts, and I was told that the arts is not a real career and that you need to do something academically. And I literally got asked what else I like to do, and I said travel. I like to go on planes. Me naively thinking, oh yeah, they're going to tell me to be a pilot. Absolutely not. They said do a travel and tourism course, and I was like, So yeah, I did that. Went to college, did travel and tourism. Didn't like it at all, but I don't give up, and then decided to carry on doing it at university. Finished university, still hated it, but I learned a lot. Again, maybe naively, I don't know. I don't feel like it, but I just feel like the world just needed to have changed a little bit. Finished university, busted my butt and everything, expected to be able to get a job in the industry that I've studied for however many years, and was told that I would be too sick and be off too often to be able to work. So they tried to put me on my incapacity benefits, and I fought against it and said, no, I can work, but I will say I didn't do that straight away. I was, I guess what people call quite depressed for about a year and a bit because of what I was told, and I'd worked so hard, and even through that, I was working within the arts anyway to sort of try and, continue. It's the only thing that made me happy. So I did a lot of workshops and things like that, but then sort of picked myself up after a bit. And it was mainly when I moved out at 23 that I sort of gave myself a little boost and was like, no, you need to do something. So I started up my own little jewellery business for people of small stature. Started selling them at, I should rewind a tiny little bit. For my disability, I go to a conference every year, and the charity is called the Brittle Bones Society. So they saw me doing jewellery, and they commissioned me to make over 100 or so charity bracelets. So I did that, and I was selling them. So that was going well. And then fast forward a little bit to I was mentoring for an organisation that I used to attend when I was younger. from 11 to 16, which genuinely taught disabled people how to be independent in their own way. So I don't know, like, for yourself, but I found it hard, especially my mum won't admit it, but she does have OCD. So I find it quite hard to, like, learn how to, like, cook and clean and do certain things from a non-disabled person, and to be able to do it all by myself. So this organization sort of taught you how to do it and the safest ways, etc. So now in my adulthood, moved out, I literally moved out down the road from this organization, and I got roped into coming in to mentor for a few evenings, which then snowballed into 7 years, because I really enjoyed it. And it was just sort of, it was, just mentoring like the young kids and adults on how to be independent, because by that time I had moved out. I was driving this very big vehicle for a very small person, and progressively through that same organisation, I, as a favour, started working at an SEN school on reception. And again, that snowballed into another 4 or 5 years. So, it was just sort of teaching these young people how they can be independent, how they can sort of live their own life, no matter what society tells them. And through that, I was also having discussions with parents, because throughout my life, when I was quite young anyway, I'd go into the schools, would take me into schools to speak to parents about how my life has sort of, been a little bit different, and like going from, because I went to an SEN school when I was younger, up to 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And then how my life was a little bit different from then going to a mainstream school and how beneficial it was, and things like that. So I was mentoring, did all of that, and then worked at the school. Then came back, worked for the service, and through all of that, a friend of mine who used to teach at a arts organisation that I used to go to as a kid, where they do dance and drama and all kinds of things, had remembered me, and she came to the school, not to come and see me. She came to the school because she was coming for an aspiration day, and she's an actor. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "Oh, Monique, it's great to see you." And I was like, "Oh, cool." She was setting up a company, or wanting to, and asked if I would be involved. And I said yes. And that company is now Triple C, Creative Confidence Collective, who also run DANC, the Disabled Artist Networking Community. And that's been going for about 7-ish years. So, and then weirdly enough, through that, because I've never really stopped dancing, and when I was working at the school, I got caught dancing at reception during somebody had come in to teach the kids ballroom and Latin, and I got caught dancing, and they said I should go to classes, told me where to go. I went, ended up doing competitive, all kinds of stuff for ballroom and Latin. That's awesome. Started traveling and stuff, and ended up being a national and international wheelchair ballroom and Latin dancer, which was kind of cool. But it did take a toll health-wise, because the higher you go, the more you do, etc. And again, oddly enough, because of my dance teacher, he put me through to a modelling agency. Again, it's a lot of it. My life is just like things just happen for God knows what reason. I don't know, but he put me through to this agency. They were looking, this new modelling agency at the time, were looking for disabled models. He put me forward. I always say I was minding my own business on holiday, and I got this email at 3 o'clock in the morning. Had to fill out all this stuff, sent it. Within a matter of months, I was on a set with them in my swimsuit, of all things. I was doing modelling. So then during all that time I was doing modelling, I was doing competitive dancing. And through the modelling and my dancing, I got to do a commercial for Facebook, which was my first job where I got to dance and model at the same time. Just after that had happened with Triple C, because I was pushing for like more art forms and stuff, because I'm not an actor. A lot of the people within the company are actors, so it was very heavy TV and theatre based, and I was like, I need something else. So they were like, right, if you can facilitate dancing, then we'll get it done. So that's what I did. There's a company that my friend already knew about, and we were in touch with, called Setbacks Dance Company. We asked them to come and do like I think it was 6 weeks workshop, and I facilitated. Through that facilitation and my friends sending the Facebook advert to the artistic director, they then asked me to do a event with them for like, I guess I see it now as like it was a trial, but I didn't know that at the time. And that was to perform at the Paralympics homecoming, which was really cool. And from then, I've been working with more or less with Stopgap. So I'm a Stopgap dance artist now also. So yeah, I've just tried to fast forward through all of that. I don't know if it worked or made sense, but that's more or less my life. At the minute, I'm doing all of that except the ballroom and Latin.
That's I mean, I love hearing these bits because it kind of gives me a snapshot and gives everyone a snapshot as well. But there's so many things I want to ask. So like, so tell us a bit more about the journey of getting into dance. I know it kind of happened by accident, but what was that journey? Because you went from essentially, just from what I can understand, just dancing around, having fun, to then going to pretty much the top of the game when it comes to ballroom. So like, what was that journey like?
It was weird. I mean, to this day, I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. But so when I was younger, again, like I said, I loved dancing. I just loved moving around and stuff. And knowing at quite a young age that I moved a lot differently from other people, I felt, I guess, in my mind, I was a little bit special. A bit, yeah. So it was like my, what do they call it? Like your...
USP.
I forgot the word, but that's the one. So, and I could do weird things with my arms and legs because my arms anyway, my legs used to be, but they're quite bendy and stuff like that. So you're supposed to do weird stuff. So yeah, I've always liked dancing. And then that carried on throughout primary school, even mainstream primary, and they realised I love dance. So they tried to put me in the gymnastics. I mean, you can just imagine, can't you? Without the flips and everything, and I'm like, oh, this isn't happening. But obviously, in gymnastics, there's a bit of dancing, so all good, Again, that carried on to high school, and then in high school, dance was my favourite sort of expressive arts, as they used to call it back then. I don't know what they call it now, if it's the same or not, but yeah, that was my favourite. And I... again, stumble. A lot of things will just stumble. I sneaked into an audition at school for the Commonwealth Games, not knowing it was for the Commonwealth Games. It was just a massive... I just saw loads of people dancing in a room, and I was going to the toilet with my friend, i.e. wandering around the corridors at school because I just needed a break from class. And saw this happening, and we just snuck in, and we were like, yeah, this is great. And the person that was there, like, monitoring it and everything, loved it, asked us to come back properly and do it. Throughout that, I ended up being in the Commonwealth Games 2002 opening ceremony. And I think from then, I realised that I know I love dance, but I really want to do this. Like, if I could do this, like, on a daily basis as a career, this is the one. So that was my first, like, this is what I want to do. But like I said before, careers advisor, it's not a career, blah, blah, blah. And then again, like I said, went to workshops anyway and stuff like that. So I continued the dance, being in like little performances with arts groups and stuff like that, keeping the dream going, keeping it alive. And then, I kid you not, I just stumbled, i.e. I was on reception at work one day. The music was blasting because it was right next to where I work. I was doing my little gig, and the lady came out and said, you should really go to classes, gave me like information. It was, I'm not going to lie, it was the month of my birthday that I decided to go. So it was about 3 or 4 months after she gave me this information. I went for exercise because for me, in my mind, I was like, you know, doing a bit of like research on dance and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's a little bit like modeling, or at least what I thought, you know, at a certain age, you're like, you peaked, you know, people are like retiring at like late 20s. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm past that. So I'm just going for exercise and to have some fun. And yeah, that is how it started. It was in Manchester, South Manchester. I just went for exercise. Got really frustrated at first because I'm in an electric wheelchair and realised I can barely get any exercise in an electric wheelchair. Thankfully, they had manual ones that they let me try, and eventually they got me a little manual wheelchair because they were massive. So I danced in the manual wheelchair, really, you know, building up a sweat and felt good about myself. And within like a year, my dance teacher was like, you should do this competition that we do in Manchester. It happens every year. And because I was like at the lowest level, obviously. And he's like, yeah, you should do it with your partner. We'll train you up. Did that. I think I did it twice, I think, in that lower grade, either once or twice. And yeah, I mean, absolutely loved dancing, never stopped. I was always like trying to help others when they didn't like get the steps and stuff, which I don't know why, but yeah, it was helpful in some way apparently. And within a matter of about 2 years in, I would say, my dance teacher had said that another dancer needed a new partner, but they were like 2 levels higher than me, and that they'd already been registered into a competition in Holland, and that he wanted me to be partnered with this person. So I literally had like 6 to 8 weeks to like level up.
That's insane.
Like, yeah, level up with this dance partner, and it was mad. It really was. But we did it. We got to Holland and we placed. Like, people, I was shocked. I think a lot of other people were shocked that we placed. And we came back with like several medals. It was amazing. And then from that, that was it. Then my dance teacher was like, are you going in this competition? Are you going in this competition? Yeah, so it just sort of snowballed from there. But I really, really enjoyed it up to a point. And then, yeah, sadly, health-wise and just a few other things, I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. But I was like, I'm going to have to stop. And then, weirdly enough, sadly, COVID happened. So COVID sort of made me be like, yeah, I'm going to stop now. But I loved it. It was great. Yay.
I think it's really interesting. Like, I had that same thing with swimming, spent so long in sort of my teens swimming, and like I say, got to a point where I just fell out of love with it. And it's really strange when you get to that stage with something, because you're like, I used to love this, and now it's kind of
yeah, for sure. When it gets to a point where you're like, oh, I've got dance tomorrow, that's when you're like, you need to stop. You know, you're not enjoying it anymore. You know.
Yeah. Although, what was your favourite? Obviously, you did ballroom. So, what was your favourite dance?
So there's one called the Paso Doble, and it was very, I like to call it like extremely dramatic, and it reminded me of like, I think I've only ever like watched a handful of them, as weird as it sounds, but like Spanish operas. Like, and I don't mean like opera, I mean soap operas, sorry. Like, just over dramatic. It was amazing. I was just like, I loved it. The Paso Doble was the what, but it was like also like very inward. So it was like you're showing anger and like, but it was very sharp and that was my favorite.
Awesome. Although I have to ask, if for whatever reason, because there's a big push for it at the moment, if Strictly came knocking, what would you say?
People ask me this, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do. I don't want to do Strictly. I mean, one of the biggest reasons would be because I know there's so many much better dancers out there that can do it, and I would happily give them a list. But yeah, I don't know. Unless they were like, you can do the Paso Doble and just all the Latin dances, and we'd pay you enough so you could do all your dream holidays in 1 year. Cool, maybe I might think about it. Do you know what I mean? Nudge, nudge, BBC. But
I'm just imagining that contract of, right, only the Spanish and Latin dances. You got to pay me X amount of money, and it's got to be enough to be able to get me to this point.
Exactly. You got to know your worth, innit? Your worth. You got to know it.
Don't ask, don't get, I suppose.
Exactly. But I feel like that's not going to happen. So, but yeah, no, there's a lot of factors that would have to be put in place where I'd contemplate saying yes. But yeah,
fair enough.
If it was just
Now, fast forwarding a little bit, what made you, I know a lot from your story you told us, a lot of it happens just by osmosis and things happening. But what made you go into modelling?
My dance teacher, literally. Literally.
That was literally just your dance teacher went, go.
That dance teacher put the thing in. The modelling agency contacted me and I was like, oh? But no, yeah, I mean, that literally was it. I will say, though, it's weird because, like, thinking back, there was a show, like, I was obsessed. I know there's a lot of rightly controversy about the show now, but I was obsessed with America's Next Top Model. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, and there was a point as well where in the UK there was a show, and I can't remember exactly what the title is, but it was all about like Britain's Next Top Model, but it was disabled models only, and Gok hosted it. Yeah, and I loved that show. And at the end of that show, Gok was like, if you ever want to do modelling or blah, 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 like, you should try it now because, like, more or less now is the time. Now, I didn't really want to do modelling, but I liked the thought of change happening. So I really wanted to see if the change was really happening. So I was sort of testing the waters. And I actually applied for 3 modelling agencies, and 2 of them accepted me, which freaked me out because I didn't expect any of them to. And then one of them didn't, and it was really weird because the reasoning from one of them, I was just like, oh, this is a bit rubbish. This is a bit like nothing has changed. So I messaged them back and said, could I have constructive criticism and reasons for why I didn't? So hopefully in the future I can improve. After that email, I was in. That was it. I just got an email back saying, you're now with this agency. Which was really weird. Now, I will say, with all 3 of those agencies, I can't remember the names or anything because this was well over probably 15 years ago or something now. But I never got any work from any of those agencies. I think I got a call and a script sent to me about 3 years after from one of the agencies, to the point where I was like, who is this? What is this about? Yeah, it was just so weird. And then in the end, I was too young for it. So that was cool. But I genuinely had no interest whatsoever in modelling. But during that time when my dance teacher sent in all the information and stuff and the agency contacted me, I was on a yes year. So I had a full year where I just wasn't saying no to anything in reason.
That's wild.
Because, and that was mainly because everything that happened, I get asked to do a lot of things, and I always had this thing where, and I still do, and now I know it's, the words have lost me, but I was always thinking I wasn't the best person for this. Somebody else could do such a much better job.
Imposter syndrome.
So that's the one. So yeah, I constantly just had imposter syndrome. So I said no to way too many things. And I just got constantly told off and stuff by family and friends, and they're like, "Are you kidding me? This person asked you to do this and you said no." I was like, "Yeah, because blah blah blah." So I had a yes year, and within that yes year, I got a job at the school. I was still mentoring. I became a model. A lot of things happened within that yes year. So it kind of continued, but it wasn't always, a yes. It was, I'm going to think it through. Do I really need to do this? Do I really want to do this? Will it benefit other people? Because I realized in the modeling, even though I'm not that person where I'm like, oh, I just love the outfits, I love getting my hair done and my makeup done. I'm not gonna lie, I do now, but
Yeah.
it wasn't about that, and this, that, and the other. I realized that as a representative of disabled people, and especially disabled Black people, and then especially disabled small people as well. I was like, yeah, there's quite a few people that I sort of I'm representing, and we don't see enough of. So it's one of them. I'll do it for now, and then when the better one comes along, they can take over and do it. Yeah. But yeah, that was it was weird because that was it. It was it wasn't like a dream or anything or a goal, but it became something where now I don't ever want to stop because the representation still needs to be there. And I've also had so many opportunities through the modelling, and a couple of my lifelong dreams have come true as well that had nothing to do with modelling technically, like travelling and stuff. So yeah, it's been a bit mad, but...
What's been your favourite project that you've worked on? Because I know, obviously, I'll be honest, I know lots of Zebedee models. Some of the opportunities you guys get are insane. So what's one of your favourites?
I've got a few, but I am going to say my favourite because it was a dream of mine, literally, and I never thought I'd be able to do it, is I did a project with Celebrity Cruises. And I got to go on a cruise for 6 days and just model. And,
That's
and
awesome.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. And I also we also got to speak to staff and stuff and help with the access and things like that, and sort of not judge the access. I don't want to say judge, but I gave suggestions on how it could be improved. And got to work with some incredible people because it was all about inclusivity. And the project is called All Inclusive. And the whole thing was images were taken not just from UK models, it was American models as well. So there was, I think, 6, and might be going a bit over the top with 6, it might be 3, I can't remember exactly, but there was a specific amount of photographers who had a bunch of models within this project, and it was taking images of us, whether disabled, whether it's due to our ethnicity or sexuality. So I was with a group of 5 other amazing models, and we just had to, it was horrendous. We just had to be going around for 6 days in the sun and on a cruise ship and drinking cocktails and doing all this, swimming. And it was the worst. But we got to do all of that, and at the same time sort of change the industry, because Celebrity Cruises created a package that was available for free for the whole of the travel industry to use within their brochures, posters, etc.
That's awesome.
So it's mad to see some of them as well, where we're like, oh, I've never worked for that company before in my life, but we're in their magazine, or we're on their billboards. Okay, cool.
There must have been some, obviously doing the influencer work myself, there must have been some usage rights agreements attached to that. God, that must have been a nightmare to try and figure out signing that form and going, yeah, you can use this wherever you want.
Wherever, yeah. That was definitely a Celebrity Cruise issue, not mine, really. So, but it was amazing. It was amazing, and to get paid for it as well. I mean, to get paid to do one of my dreams, my little bucket list.
That's the goal.
Was Pretty cool. That is the goal. And to this day, I'm still doing work around it. I've been on panels talking about this, you know, the project, and working still with some people from Celebrity Cruises as well, to do with travel and stuff. So yeah, it's amazing.
Completely. Also, the other thing I wanted to touch on with you, we touched on, obviously, both of us have got disabilities, but you also touched on that you're a disabled person of colour. Now, that brings a whole other part of the equation when it comes to discrimination and misconceptions. Have you faced any issues within that space, obviously being very front-facing as you are?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that I got asked to do an amazing festival called Black Girl Fest, and it was all about like racism within the industry. And I was listening to everybody. I was on the panel, but I'm there listening to everyone. And it dawned on me that I genuinely find at least 70, 80% of the time, if not more, that people judge me first on my disability before my ethnicity. And sometimes it's even hard for me to differentiate which one that they're judging me on because of what's happening. So yeah, it's hard, but I think it was weird. Like that only happened I don't know, maybe 7 years ago. Time frames are rubbish with me, by the way, because since COVID happened, I don't know what week or day it is, to be fair. So that could have happened like 10 years ago, to be honest. But that was the first time it sort of dawned on me that a lot of it is my disability, or that's how it comes across anyway. And racism side of it, I don't feel I get a lot of, because I'm already being judged on my disability. But when that does happen, it's very clear.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Yeah.
When it's a lovely cocktail of horribleness, let's say.
I hate that. I can see it. I hate that fact. One weird. This is going to sound like a weird question. I don't know any better way to phrase it. But do you almost feel like does your disability affect being able to sort of get involved with the Black community? Because there's almost like, as you say, they see the disability first before seeing that actually you're part of that community as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I've felt that, especially getting older and things like that. I'd say I probably realised it in my mid-20s that I really, though everything I do to like prove that I can do it, but I kind of stopped that whole mentality in my late-ish 20s, because I realised that, especially within my beautiful Black community, it didn't seem to, it was one of two ways. It either didn't seem to matter what I did, I was still disabled, and it's not, I never found it in well, not a lot anyway, in a horrible way of like, oh, you're disabled. It was the pity party, and I get the pity party a lot more, I feel, from the Black community than I do in any other community. You know, people within the Black community seem really, really shocked when I just say I live on my own, never mind everything else that I do. And it just got to a point where I was just tired of trying to prove to people, oh, look at all the amazing things, or look what I can do, i.e. get up in the morning, brush my teeth and dress myself. You know, just something like that was just like mind-blowing. But I feel times have definitely changed. And I feel because there's a bit more representation of Black disabled, whether models, actors, etc., the Black community are coming round to realising that we are Black people too, you know. And when I'm around people within the community, and I have the same attitude as my very Jamaican mother and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, right, okay, yeah, you're cool, yeah, I say you're a Black woman for sure, and you're disabled, okay, cool. You know, it's kind of, it takes a while But yeah, there's definitely it's a little bit different, and I think for a long time, I just didn't feel. I mean, especially growing up, I remember me and my sister had this conversation ages ago, like years ago, where we both realised that a lot of our friends throughout like primary school and high school were white. And we were like, but why is that? I mean, I love everybody, but like we were like, but why is that? Why don't I have like a best friend that's black? And it was because I wasn't seen as, the bubbly, I say slightly, I'm just being an idiot, very small, a teenager or young person in a wheelchair with a big mouth that giggles a lot. I wasn't seen within the black community as that first, or at least even second sometimes. I was just constantly seen as a disabled person and everything that they felt I couldn't do. Which, I mean, again, it's a societal thing, but, coming from, my heritage is Jamaican and going to Jamaica, it was just like that attitude was like what I would imagine that attitude was in the UK, like, I don't know, 80, 60, 70 years ago, so it was just like realizing that it's just not progressed yet, but also knowing that there will be a time when everybody just sees, no matter what community, just sees me for the loud and quiet, because I'm a bit, like fun-loving, kind of slightly ambitious and likes to just overwork herself kind of person I am.
I mean, we haven't fully covered your work history yet.
What can I say? I don't like being bored.
Fair enough. But it's really interesting. Like, the craziest thing about what you've just said is I've experienced it as well, and it's even stranger for me because of not being part of that community. But basically, my best friend's Nigerian, so his parents, the sheer shock of like the amount of stuff that I do, and I had the same thing, and it's just interesting that obviously it's just a case of education. It's just a case of education and exposure, and it's what I always say on this podcast of like, never get mad at someone for not understanding or knowing something, because at the end of the day, you can only go off of the information that you had at the time. I'm not an expert on astrophysics, so I am going to ask stupid questions, and it's the same thing any facet of life, really. But it's really interesting that different communities are at different stages of their education, and it's really interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But coming on to your work history, as we mentioned earlier, tell us a bit more about the Triple C.
So we started about 7-8-ish years ago. We started like 2016. It'd be easier if I just said that. I am one of the co-founders. So the founder is Shirley Houston, who people may know, who is plays Izzy on Coronation Street. And she was the one that I was saying earlier that back in the day used to teach me dance and drama through an arts organisation. So, yeah, we sort of started it up at first because there was a person that we both mutually knew. Shirley used to teach them, and I was like one of their friends and also a student at the time. And the arts organisation that we all were involved with had sort of changed, and we very visibly realised that it had changed. But this person that we both mutually knew was going through quite a lot, and they sort of messaged Shirley to thank them for teaching them, and that they got a lot out of it, and they got a lot of confidence out of it, even though they never wanted to be, in dance or do any, they didn't want to be an actor or anything, but they got a lot out of the workshops. Shirley came about with the idea of sort of revamping and rebooting what was the that organisation through a new one, because at the time, sadly, the organisation was going into decline, and sort of due to other things, it wasn't going to revamp. And somehow I became a board member of that organisation and tried to help revamp it. But I think there was just a lot that had happened, and it was maybe a little bit too late. But anyway, so then we started Triple C, which stands for Creative Confidence Collective, because we were a bunch of creatives and came through as a collective to create confidence. And there was we did like a lot of like focus groups, and more or less asked the community what they wanted. And during that time also, the cuts came in with Manchester with care. So a lot of people that would have like 24-hour care, it got slashed down to like 12 if they were lucky, and worse happened to others, and the whole PIP system came in and stuff. So a lot of people were affected, and we wanted to do something and create something where people could just sort of escape and, have somewhere that they could go to and not have to worry about extra like payments for carers to be able to have a good time and go out and do these things. Now, I will say, unfortunately, there was no funding for this because, I guess in the world that we lived in then, when it came to access, it was like, oh, no, you can't put access completely separate. And it costs how much? Cost more than the project you want to do? Absolutely not. So even though that's what we wanted to do and that's what we were fighting for, it was like almost impossible to do it straight away. And again, a lot of the directors especially are actors or within like theatre or TV. So they also started doing the disabled artist networking community because, again, speaking to the community, it was found that obviously the bridge needed to be gapped between the industry and disabled artists, because it was back then that whole spiel of, oh yeah, we want, disabled, people on TV more. We just don't know where to find them. And we were like, fine, we'll make it possible so you can find them and not have that excuse anymore. So that was like,
why didn't they just Google it?
I mean, come on now. Do you know why? Because Google makes sense. That's why. That's why we didn't do it. Oh my word! So yeah, we decided we're going to do that as well. So we had like different strands for Triple C. So we had education, so we go into schools. The first one was the school that I actually worked at, and we do workshops, which was amazing because we even had children that were they were verbal but very minimal, very, very minimal. And within a matter of 6 weeks, we had a student that was having full-on conversations and wanting to do an interview and did an interview.
Wow.
And this was the same student. Every morning, they would only say hello to me, and I barely got that. So yeah, it was amazing that we were able to do that through drama and stuff. So we have our education sector. We have the disabled artists networking community, which blew up, especially over lockdown. Because I will also very quickly say, within the company, I'm the digital and tech manager. So I set up everything digital, I was doing all the socials. I have a team now. But yeah, I was doing all the socials. I was doing everything, anything tech-wise, anything digital-wise, socials, anything. It was all me, and it was a lot. But yeah, then COVID hit, and everything was just I was just constantly working, constantly. And obviously moved all our workshops and anything like that onto Zoom. Zoom. And then through that, we managed to get some amazing names, quite famous people. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, so I won't. incredible people. Incredible people,
Mm.
writers, directors, actors, to be able to come on, because it was a Zoom call, so they obviously didn't feel the pressure of like being in a room full of like disabled people. And I guess in a way you can understand, you know, because sometimes when something hasn't worked for you for so long, you know, you just want to sort of shout and be like, this is what happened to me, or this is what needs changing.
Yeah.
Whereas we are very solution focused, which I'm not going to lie, did take a while for people to get used to. So it's like you can't be screaming at people and saying what opportunities you didn't get. We're trying to focus on the opportunities that you are getting and that you can get now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like a huge influx of industry guests and stuff. So through that, we won a BAFTA over a year ago for our work with sort of changing the industry and making sure like representation was within, you know, TV and then theatre. So yeah, it's amazing
That's
what
insane.
Triple C has achieved. It really is. So yeah, very proud of Triple C. Yeah.
I mean, I loved hearing that, just because, similar to yourself, although you took the leap, I didn't. I did really well in performing arts. That was it, where everyone said I was going to send me. Everyone was like, all right, Charlie's going to go be an actor. And I looked at it and went, I'm just always going to be cast as the guy in the wheelchair. And that's like, I do that every day. I don't need to be cast as that. That's not that unique, and I always felt like there wasn't going to be the opportunities out there. But I so wish that something like Triple C existed when I was doing it, because I knew of it, because maybe I would have gone down a different route. I mean, that's why I do this now. It's my like creative outlet. Lets me be that weird, quirky Charlie. But yeah, it's mad. I mean, I love it. I mean, oh yeah, total fanboy. You got a new fan. But yeah, it's just mad that we still have to push so hard to be involved in the creative industry.
Exactly. And for me, Triple C wise as well, because again, I'm not an actor. It meant a lot that we sort of helped those that never wanted or never knew what they wanted to do, because they were never given a voice. So that's why for me it was quite important to like work in the schools and to teach kids like, you have a voice, you know, you could do what you want to do, you just have to maybe do it in a different way, etc. And now we've just starting up a youth group as well. So that's kicking off properly. So that's kicking off properly in January, but we've got some tasters, and we've had some tasters. So yeah, if people want to go on our website, they'll find all the information on there. And we also have for the adults, the community projects as well. So where people get together, and we have amazing people like Kathy Crabb, who is a creative writer and is just absolutely amazing, to just get together every week. And I mean, you don't have to go every week, but get together with like-minded people and just enjoy being creative for a few hours. So yeah, for me, that meant a lot that we made sure that we did that and really targeted the people that genuinely just never had that opportunity at all. But also, you know, obviously it's important for the people that knew they wanted to be actors or they wanted to be in the theatre, to be able to bridge that gap as well. So yeah, Triple C's been changing a few things over the past few years.
Yeah. Although one thing, I'm going to rewind a little bit, because one thing I didn't mention about Monique's modelling career is Monique did London Fashion Week this year. So tell us about that. Like I did it with that. I did it with Victoria last year. It was such a cool experience, but I'm really intrigued to see how you found the whole thing.
Yeah, it was really cool. Really, I mean, it's mad because I've been like following Victoria for a while, and we were ambassadors for Models of Diversity at the same time. So
Yep.
we like linked up through that. So I've been following her since then, and she's been asking me to like do stuff with her for a while, and as many people know, I just wasn't available, or not even in the country or the city. So I was just so happy that I was able to do it. But it was amazing. Like literally, it was wicked. It was so cool. And it was my second time doing London Fashion Week, which I feel very privileged
Oh,
to
I
be
didn't
able
know
to
that.
say. So yeah, I did for Shemaya Dewey, so for Dewey Clothing, my first year, which was also amazing. But yeah, this was my second time doing London Fashion Week, and just the whole atmosphere.
Showing up my research.
No, honestly, it was wicked. It was so cool, and yeah, just being able to see so many, models and people I didn't know, just strutting their stuff down the runway, and just seeing the confidence just ooze out of people, and finding new friends. It was incredible. It was incredible, and just as well, because I don't know if it's like controversial. I don't know, but I get asked the question about like adaptive clothing, etc. And I'm like, it's great, but for me, it never looks fashionable. And for Victoria's and Shemaya's, it just looks so like I want to wear it, Whereas I found some of them. I'm not going to name any names, but like it's bigger company, like big companies that we know. I'm just I see you're trying, but mate.
Do better.
Where's the fashion? Yeah, like literally, where's the fashion? So I know it was brilliant. It was amazing. Such a great experience.
But 100%, like even for me, like one of my big challenges is footwear, and even like you look at a lot of the footwear designed to be more inclusive, and it isn't the nicest. And it comes back that same argument of almost the argument I use all the time of why does a disabled bathroom all look the same no matter where you go, and it always looks like something straight out of a hospital. And it's the same thing. It's like, why does it look like something taken straight out of my nan's shoe cupboard?
This is so true.
But it is. But there you go. I suppose, as we say, it's just that whole thing of people just educating themselves, progressing. Things will get better over time. The more it's available, the more people will tweak it. So we will get there. We will get there one day.
We will. Yeah, I'm glad it's not just me that thinks that, because for a while I was just like, I felt I was on my own, because I'm like, when people ask me a question about like adaptive clothing and they name these names, these big names, and I'm just like, nah, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Do you not like it? I was like, I'm not gonna wear any of it, because have you seen the stuff that I wear? Like, I like looking like fashionable and bright and stuff sometimes. I say wearing a black t-shirt. But like, no, none of this is appealing to me. It's just like they thought of like the pattern, and that was it. That was it. It was like last minute, we'll throw a colour on it or something. There's no fashion in it. So yeah, I'm glad it's not just me.
I mean, there's the argument as well that I always have, because whenever I talk about my footwear issues, everyone goes, "Oh, get yourself a pair of Flays," or whatever they're called from Nike. First problem, they're not actually that accessible if you've not got ankle flexion. Second problem, they're a fucking collectible. So, like, by the time I go to buy one, some schmuck who doesn't need them and just wants them has them. Like, it's just crazy.
Oh my god! Yeah, no. Well, I'm glad. At least there's two of us. So yes, I mean, I'm it's mad because like I mean, again, I won't say the brand or anything, but one of my bugbears, I'm just gonna put it out there now. One of my bugbears is I really liked this brand, and then many years ago something happened. So, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, a certain demographic of people stopped wearing them, and then they, I guess, redeemed themselves because started wearing them again. And I'm like, I like how their stuff looks. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of it I can't afford, I'm not gonna lie to you. But it looks good. And then when the adaptive clothing came out, I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait. I'll be able to get that, like, I'm not going to say certain items because people will probably guess exactly what I'm talking about. But there's certain items that this, like, company is famous for, this fashion label, and like everybody and their dog tries to like get these, especially during certain seasons, blah blah blah. Anyway, so I was like, oh, I can't wait. And then the stuff came out, and I was like, why is this like a completely different pattern or completely different look? Like, it's just like either bog standard or I need to like avert my eyes. Because I just don't understand why you didn't just adapt the stuff that you already do. It's very possible. Yeah, I was very confused and annoyed.
100%. I'm a big advocate for that argument of like companies need to just adapt their current lines. Don't do like it comes back to what we were speaking about earlier, that tokenism of like, oh, we've got to have a selection of clothing for disabled people when it'd be like 5 items. And they're like, it's like almost like, those companies that do like drops. It's like, oh, they do a drop of like 500 items and they're all gone, and you're like, oh fuck.
Oh god, yeah. That's so true. Oh my word.
But on the topic of bugbears, I'm going to hit you with the last question, which I ask every guest, which is, what's a piece of politically correctness that you really strongly agree with or disagree with? It can be absolutely anything you like. It's just a bit of fun at the end of the episode.
I'm not gonna lie, I've got so many books. I'm trying to settle on one. Oh my word. I don't know if it's like still in line with like, well, it's definitely in line with the question, but I don't know if it's like in the correct context. But I will say what bugs me the most, and this is going to sound really bad. So when I'm out and about, I always wear headphones, and it's for this one particular reason. And the reason is, I just want to tell the world, just because I'm on wheels doesn't mean I can give you or want to give you a lift. If one more person says, give us a lift halfway down the road when I'm minding my own business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll happily give you a lift to somewhere where I should not say on here. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, no. Like, stop.
Yeah, 100%.
You're not funny.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Or the other ones, slow down, fuck off.
Mate, literally, why? Why do you want me to slow down? I mean, do I need to? Do you slow down? Do I say that to you when you're running for the bus? No, I do not. Yeah. Leave me alone, please.
Don't forget, don't drink and drive.
I will do what I want. Do you know what I mean?
Honestly,
I'm ramming into you. It doesn't matter if I'm drinking or driving, no? I mean, all of it, the whole...
But on the top, like you said about the headphone thing, it is mad. I don't know what it is about like being in a wheelchair or having a disability. The headphone rule doesn't work, because if you're able-bodied or an average Joe, you don't interrupt someone that's got headphones on because they clearly don't want to talk to fucking you. However, when you're in a wheelchair, it doesn't work. Because someone, like literally about 6 months ago, I'm sat on a train, I've had a few beers, I'm quietly sitting and listening to my favourite podcast, Happy as Larry. And coincidentally, actually, I've got to give full context. So I was listening to an interview with Sadiq Khan, and then some dude taps you on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, can I just give you one of these?" And it was a flyer for ULEZ. which is, for anyone that's listening that's international, outside of London, doesn't know what it is. Essentially, they've now expanded the radius of which you come into London, and you've got to pay depending on what vehicle you drive because of the emissions. Some guy goes, yeah, can I just give you one of these? And then starts chatting to me about how I should care more about you, Les, than your average Joe because I'm in a wheelchair. And I'm sat there like, first of all, the cattiness that it's Sadiq Khan on the podcast that I'm listening to. And then some schmuck's going to me, you should care more because you're in a wheelchair. It's wild.
Yes. No, but I do totally agree with you. I will say, when you're stationary, it doesn't work. The headphones rule. When you're stationary, when you're bombing it at 10 miles an hour down the road, it works because you don't hear anyone and their silly comments. So yes, no, you're totally right. When you're stationary, it doesn't work. And no matter how much I am blaring my music to the point where some people can hear my music in my headphones, they still like to disturb you because apparently I need to talk to you for some reason.
On that topic, I was on what we call the drunk train, which is the last train home. And I'm literally sat there. I've got my headphones on. Gina sat in front of me. She's fine. She's got her headphones in as well. And I can see that this guy he's definitely had too much to drink. He's chatting away to the guy opposite me, and I'm I'm just keeping my headphones in, keeping my head down. And the next thing I could see him flipping, waving at me, and I'm like, ignore him. Because also I just wasn't in the mood. I'd already rushed to get on the train. I couldn't be bothered to do, let's beer. I couldn't be bothered to do it. So waving at me. Gina spotted his waving at me. He's still trying. About 10 minutes after I've very clearly been like, I'm not answering you. And then it gets to the point where he's moaning and shouting and all that. So I've taken my headphones off. And no word of a lie, all he wanted to ask me was if my front wheel attachment was electric and what the top speed was. And I'm like,
wow.
Bro, what the... Why is it that important? And he's like, I only wanted to ask you a fucking question. Just leave me alone.
Yeah. I just don't understand the obligation people think that we apparently have to just answer any question at any time. It makes no sense at all. I mean, there was a point in my life where I thought maybe people just think that we don't have any friends and we don't have anyone to talk to. Maybe that's why they do it. And then I'm just I don't care. Even if that was the case, leave me alone. I don't know you. Leave me alone. If I'm looking the other way when you're clearly trying to wave at me, get a clue. I'm just saying. I'm not in the mood. We have bad days and we have moods like everybody else. Leave me alone. Please.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I've loved this podcast. But to wrap up, I always give my guests a chance to plug themselves. So where can people find you? All the projects that you work on. If they want to find out more, where can they go?
I'm really bad at plugging myself, but I'm on Instagram. That's probably the main one, to be honest, Instagram, because the rest of them I'm rubbish at. So you'll find me on Monique _Dior _ Zebedee _ on Instagram, and you can also find the company that I mentioned, Triple C, at I'm probably going to mess this up now. To be honest, if you type Triple C into Google, it comes up as the first one.
I'll link it below. I'll link it below.
Because I know there's an org somewhere. And I really am. I'm rubbish at plugging myself. I'm rubbish at plugging everything else. And also, if anybody is interested in dance and wants to watch inclusive dance, I am also a dance artist with Stopgap Dance Company who does contemporary dance. And you can also find them on Google, Stopgap Dance Company. Yay! And we just did...
Again, link below.
I say we just did. We just did. We performed for the King last weekend, which standard apparently.
Ooh, damn it!
Yeah. So.
Oh wow, we're definitely gonna have to get on episode 2 for that. It's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much for coming on, and yeah, thank you again.
Oh, thank you for having me, honestly. I was so surprised when you asked, so thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Not Quite Podcast. Please make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram to get regular updates about the podcast.
These bad dance make it hurt.